So I'm making this video because I switched up my diet a bit. I added a few things, I took away some stuff, and I'm pretty satisfied with how it's going so far. If you haven't seen my previous diet video, I'll link it in the description below, but you don't have to watch that video to watch this one. So yeah, let's get into it. When I first realized that I wanted to be aesthetic and shredded, I really took it to the extreme, and it all started with my diet. On one hand, I was constantly learning about healthy nutrition and a well-balanced diet, and on the other hand, I was meticulously worrying about that any shred of fat or sugar or sodium or carbs would just completely ruin my diet for the week, and I would just be doomed for the days to come. I was just really afraid of fat and sugar and sodium that I started to avoid it at all costs. I couldn't even eat out at my favorite restaurants because I was worried about what kind of oil they cook their healthy selection food in. Even getting salads, if I didn't know the exact ingredients or the exact macros of what I was eating, I would just opt out and just get a water. I pretty much ate like I was in a prison, having my meals at the exact same time every day and eating such plain, disgusting foods that I thought were the healthiest that you could get. Everything regarding my diet, it had to be perfect. I had to eat it at the exact same time every day, and I had to have a 2-hour time window between each meal. And it was a serious problem. And looking back on it, I'm sure it took a negative toll on my mental health. And I'm glad to say that you don't have to eat or think about food in that kind of way to look aesthetic or shredded or just simply good. It's honestly not that serious, and you can look amazing by just eating relatively healthy. And of course, you shouldn't pig out on pizza every night, but if you have a workout routine that you follow 5 to 7 days a week with cardio as well, you can spice up your diet quite a bit. I mean, my diet now, it's definitely still healthy, but it's more laid back. I'm not worried about an extra few grams of fat or sugar here and there. And I don't really care about carbs or sodium nowadays. And I would describe my diet as sort of unstructured now. Although I eat the same meals every day, I don't count my calories. And since I don't count, I just do the add and take away method. And the mirror is where I track my progress. So if I'm looking a little too small, I'll just add something to my diet. Maybe just more of what I'm eating or just a protein bar or some nuts. And if I'm looking a little too big and bloated, then I'll just take away something from my diet. It's really that simple. It's just really easy to keep track this way because I literally just eat the same thing every day. And when I'm satisfied with how my progress is looking, I'll keep the diet the same for a while until I get a little bored of it and I want to just replace a meal with a different one and try new things. But that's just every once in a while. The general rule that I follow is eating things that are high in protein and low in sugar and fat. There's really no particular order that I follow my meals in now, and I don't eat at the same times of day either. I could eat my first meal at 9 a.m. or 2 p.m. It just really depends on how busy I am. I do still try to keep a 2 to 3 hour time window between each meal. And some of the things that I used to worry about, they do still carry with me sometimes, but it's really easy to block out those thoughts. It was recently when I just refused to eat out at Chipotle because I was still so scared about what kind of oil or butter they would cook their food in. But Chipotle's it's just too good to just pass up. So I still eat there. I'm glad that I was able to block those thoughts out, and it is easier to block them out now. I do eat 3 times a day, and where I went wrong in my last diet was only eating twice a day and not making it enjoyable or filling enough for me to actually stick to it. I was just always craving experimentation and adding different things to the diet, and I wasn't really satisfied with it as much as I thought I was. Eating twice a day wasn't really sustainable for me. I found myself constantly thinking about food after my last meal, and when switching to 3 times a day, it felt more natural for me, and I added more eating times throughout the day, which led me feeling more full and satisfied. So in this video, I'll be going over what I eat in a day, and I'll be taking you just through the steps and making it with you. So if you want to watch me cook, then you can stick around. So let's get into the first one. Okay, so sometimes I like to start my day off with the best meal of the day, and that's French toast and a banana. This isn't just any regular French toast though. This French toast is healthy, it's filling, it's packed with protein, and I look forward to eating it, and I actually enjoy it a lot, which is important because you don't want to eat foods that you don't enjoy. This is something that I mentioned in previous videos, but if you're eating something that you tell yourself that you have to eat, it's going to be hard to stick to your diet. To stick to your diet, you need to eat things that you actually want to eat. Get rid of the mindset of I don't eat for pleasure, I eat for gains. Now definitely still eat for gains, but eat for pleasure as well. I believe that's the best way to go for long-term sustainability when it comes to sculpting your desired physique. So the difference between my French toast and the regular French toast that you get at IHOP is that mine stays away from the whole eggs, the sugar, the sugary syrup, and milk, which in turn actually makes this meal high in protein and low in sugar and fat, which is what I try to strive for throughout my days. For this recipe, I only use egg whites, which is the part of the egg that holds most of the protein and doesn't include the yolk, which holds most of the fat. I usually get these Bob Evans egg whites, and you can really get them at any store next to the egg section, and if you don't see the Bob Evans ones, you can really get any store brand or whatever store that you go to. They usually have store brand ones, and a whole egg white carton usually lasts me about a week. Instead of real sugar that you find in regular French toast, I use a substitute, and that's usually Splenda or stevia. And for the health experts that I know will be in my comments, I appreciate you guys, but I'm not over here consuming the whole box in one sitting. I don't believe that I'm going to get cancer from only eating 3 packets a week. And also for the syrup, I choose a low-calorie sugar-free syrup. If you want to make this recipe, I'm going to show you how, but if you don't really care, then just skip ahead to the next recipe. So I use this big container to hold all the batter in one place, and it's really easy to just take out and begin cooking. So first, pour all of the egg whites all up in here like this, and then we're going to add the cinnamon. I give it about 5 to 8 pats on the butt. After that, I add 2 cap sizes of vanilla extract to give some pizzazz to the flavor, and then I'll go ahead and pour 3 packets of stevia or Splenda into the mix. Next is the bread, and this part is crucial. You've got to have the bread to make this recipe. I personally like sourdough bread, and it doesn't really matter what kind of bread you use. As long as it's not overly processed and packed with a bunch of sugar, you'll be fine. I like the macros on this bread as well, and it's generally what I look for when it comes to the bread that I consume. So I take 3 slices of the bread and soak them all up with the protein sauce, and as you can see, I'm doing this little turnover thing. I do about 3 or 4 of those to get the egg whites all up in there, and once I'm done soaking the bread, I like to lay the bread out on my portable griddle, which is a huge time saver because I can cook all 3 at once. It was $20 at Walmart, which is a pretty good deal considering how good this thing works, and then we wait. Depending on what temperature you're cooking on, it takes about 3 to 5 minutes until you need to flip the bread. On my griddle, I like to put the temperature setting on 200 or 250, and on the stove, I'd put it on 5 or 6. Sometimes I like to spread a tablespoon of peanut butter on the toast or lightly coat the bread with some extra cinnamon, and then add the syrup. And boom, it's all done. So yeah, this is the French toast that I eat every day. And if you decide to add this to your diet, it's going to take a few tries to perfect. I remember the first time I made this recipe and mine was all soggy and watery. It was not a good experience, but you just gotta experiment with the temperatures and see what you like it with. This recipe, it's a staple in my diet, and I believe it has great macros as well. I think I'm gonna be eating this for a very long time. So the next recipe is chicken tacos. The ingredients for this includes chicken breast, 2 small flour tortillas, fresh tomatoes, diced onions, and I top it off with some cilantro and some salsa. I love this recipe because you can customize it however you want. You could add rice, beans, peppers, shredded cheese, etc. And I may add some of those to these tacos in the future, but I plan on sticking with these tacos for a long time as well, so I'm definitely going to experiment with that. So first, we cook the chicken. I cut up about 5 to 6 medium-sized strips, and I lay them out on the pan like so. I usually put the temperature setting to 4 or 5 for this recipe. I don't really add that much seasoning to the chicken, maybe some salt or some red pepper. So while the chicken is cooking, I get out my tortillas and I start making the base of the tacos. I cut up the tomato and I lay it on both of them like this. Next, I add the diced onion followed by some cilantro, and then I add some salsa to bring it together. Now we wait for the chicken to finish and it's done. Always check if your chicken is still pink on the inside. If it is, just put it back on the pan and wait for it to get white. Now I just put the chicken on the tortilla and there it is in all of its glory. It's
beautiful. And I really love this recipe. The last and final meal of the day is just 4 large scrambled eggs. Not small eggs, not medium or extra large eggs, just large. It was recently when I learned that eggs have different sizes that you can get from the store. I just stick with the large ones. I also have a side of yogurt and granola with this meal too. This is kind of my lazy meal, as I don't really care about the macros that much. I just want to eat my eggs and yogurt, but it's still healthy nonetheless. I'm sure you already know how to make scrambled eggs. It's pretty simple. It was actually the first thing that I learned how to cook. My brother taught me how to cook scrambled eggs when I was 14. I do like to add tomato, diced onion, and cilantro to my eggs as well to boost the flavor. To me, it tastes fantastic like that. Just simple scrambled eggs. And for the yogurt and granola, I use this brand of yogurt. It has 15 grams of protein per container and minimal fat and sugar, and it tastes really good. I only eat one of these a day, and I like to eat this brand of granola. It's protein granola and has fantastic macros.
So yeah, this was my updated diet. I pretty much eat the same thing every day. Do I believe that this is the best diet for ultimate health? No. There's many other diets out there that mog mine to oblivion and that are better calculated with their macros and calories and naturalness and whatever. But it's good enough for me. It keeps me feeling good while looking good, and that's awesome. I'm not spending hours in the kitchen. It's affordable for me. All my meals taste good. They fill me up. I'm not forcing myself to eat things that I don't want to eat. It's just the perfect diet for me right now, and it's perfect for my physique goals as well. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you took something of value from this video. And I also forgot to mention that I also eat one protein bar in the morning. I'll see you on the next one.